Nissan just revealed something in Beijing that should make Toyota very nervous. The Terrano name has been dead for 20 years, and now it's back. As a plug-in hybrid SUV with over 400 horsepower, body-on-frame bones, and a direct aim at the Land Cruiser 250. Hey, this is Mark, and you're welcome to AUTOSAYS. If that already caught your attention, hit subscribe right now, because what Nissan is building out of China is bigger than just one truck, and this story goes deeper than most people realize. Back in the 1990s, the original Terrano was a modest compact SUV. Nothing legendary, nothing that made headlines. Nissan sold it quietly in markets most Americans never thought about, and then quietly killed it in the mid-2000s when the market shifted. That should have been the end of it. But here's where it gets strange. Nissan didn't just bring the name back. They brought it back with a completely different vision, a completely different powertrain, and a completely different strategy. And the location they chose to launch it? Beijing. That detail matters more than you think. China has become the single most important automotive battleground on Earth. Not just for sales volume, though China does represent the world's largest car market, but for the pace of innovation. While American and European automakers were still debating the timeline for electrification, Chinese manufacturers were already on their third generation of plug-in hybrid technology. Nissan understood that, and under their new vision called Mobility Intelligence for Everyday Life, they've placed China alongside Japan and the United States as one of their 3 lead markets. Think about what that means historically. For decades, Detroit looked down at Japan. Japan looked down at Korea, and everyone, at some point, underestimated China. Nissan just officially stopped making that mistake. At Auto China 2026, Nissan unveiled 2 concept SUVs, and both of them are going into production within 12 months. The first is the urban SUV PHEV, designed specifically for young Chinese buyers. Sleek digital wing mirrors, no visible door handles, a front end that looks like it belongs in 2030. It draws its design philosophy from the NX8, a model Nissan, launched in China just months ago. But that one is for the home market. The Terrano PHEV is the one with global ambitions. And it is not subtle. Tall stance, imposing front end, LED headlights, off-road lights, rock sliders, a spare wheel carrier. This thing is built to go somewhere, and it's built to look like it can. The platform underneath it is shared with the Frontier Pro PHEV, which means it likely carries the same powertrain, a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder combined with an electric motor, producing 429 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. Now pause on that number for a second. Nearly 600 pound-feet of torque in a mid-size body-on-frame SUV with a plug-in hybrid system. The Land Cruiser 250 with its V6 twin-turbo makes around 479 pound-feet. The Terrano, if those specs carry over, is right there, and it will almost certainly cost less. Here's the part that should get your attention from a financial perspective. Nissan's global sales have been under serious pressure for years. The company posted heavy losses coming out of the pandemic. The Renault alliance went through a painful restructuring, and in the United States, Nissan's brand equity, the trust and loyalty consumers place in a name, took a real hit after years of aging lineups and quality complaints. The stock struggled. Dealers struggled. The future looked genuinely uncertain. But what most investors and analysts missed is that China was quietly becoming Nissan's R&D engine. The N7, the Frontier Pro, the N6, the NX8, all launched since 2025. All built using what Nissan's CEO called China Speed, a phrase that means faster development cycles, faster production timelines, faster market feedback. The kind of speed that American automakers spend billions trying to replicate. Nissan found it by leaning into their joint venture with Dongfeng, and now they're using that speed to rebuild globally. The Terrano PHEV isn't just a new product. It is proof that the strategy is working, and the scale of what Nissan is planning, and is worth sitting with for a moment. Within 1 year, they're planning to unveil production versions of both Beijing concepts, plus 3 additional NEV models in China. That is 5 new vehicles in 12 months. In an industry where a single new model typically takes 4 to 6 years from concept to showroom, 5 in 1 year is almost unheard of. You'd have to go back to the Japanese automakers of the 1970s and 80s, when Toyota and Honda were flooding the American market with new models while Detroit was still celebrating last decade's hits, to find a comparable pace of offensive. History has a habit of repeating itself, and right now, the company that's moving fastest is not who most people expected. The global rollout plan confirms what's at stake. The N7 is already slated for export to Latin America and ASEAN. The Frontier Pro PHEV is heading to Latin America, ASEAN, and the Middle East. The NX8 and the Terrano PHEV are targeted for selected global markets, which, reading between the AUTOSAYS lines, almost certainly includes North America. Nissan has not confirmed a US launch date. But consider this: the Nissan Rogue, their best-selling vehicle in the United States, sits in the same general segment the Terrano would occupy. If Nissan brings the Terrano PHEV here with that powertrain, that capability, and a price point below, the Land Cruiser 250's $55,000 to $60,000 range, the conversation changes overnight. Toyota has dominated the serious off-road SUV space for years. The 4Runner has a cult following. The Land Cruiser is a legend, but legends are expensive. And history shows that the moment a competitor offers 80% of the capability at 60% of the price, the legend starts losing customers. Nissan's CEO Ivan Espinosa put it plainly in Beijing: advanced technology must serve a clear purpose and be experienced directly by customers. That's not just a press release line. That is a philosophy that drove Toyota's rise in the 1970s, Honda's rise in the 1980s, and Hyundai's rise in the 2000s. Every time a Japanese or Korean automaker broke through in America, it was not because they outspent the competition. It was because they outpurposed them. They built something people actually needed, at a price people could actually manage, with quality that outlasted the skepticism. If Nissan has finally found that formula again, in China of all places, using technology they are now pointing at the rest of the world, then the next 5 years in the truck and SUV segment are going to be very different from the last. 5. The Terrano name is back. The ambition behind it is bigger than anything the original ever was. And if the production version delivers even close to what that Beijing concept promised, Toyota is not the only one who should be paying attention. So, here's the question worth leaving you with. When was the last time an American buyer chose a Nissan over a Toyota for serious off-road capability? Think about that. Drop your answer in the comments. And keep an eye on this channel, because when that production Terrano finally breaks cover, we will have everything you need to know before the dealerships do.